Have you ever just felt that deep sense of separation? From other people, from the world, maybe even from the source of it all? Well, today we're diving into a really profound shift in perspective, one that challenges this whole idea head-on and suggests that our most basic assumption that we're all separate individuals might just be an illusion. Okay, let's get into it. And that really brings us to the core question here. It sets up two totally different ways of seeing everything. Are we these isolated little islands, defined by our own borders? Or is our individuality just a temporary ripple, an expression of something way, way bigger? So first things first, let's look at the lens that most of us are kind of taught to see the world through. The source material calls this the world of multiplicity, but we can just think of it as, well, a world of separation. This view is probably pretty familiar to you. The idea is there's a creator, and then there's everything else, the creation. We're seen as these distinct little beings, plopped into existence out of nothing, living in a world that's basically just a collection of other separate things and people. And right away, that sets up this fundamental gap between you and me, between us and nature, and between all of us and our source. Okay, but what's the actual consequence of that? What's the emotional price we pay for seeing the world through that lens of separation? It's this deep, almost bottomless feeling of being alone. And it's not just a bad mood, right? It's the logical endpoint of seeing yourself as fundamentally separate. It's that classic existential pain, that whole I was born alone, I'll die alone kind of thinking. And this slide just lays it out so clearly. Look at the contrast here. On the left, you've got the world of separation. A separate creator, lonely people, and evil as this real, powerful force. But on the right, a totally different reality emerges. Everything is just a manifestation of the one. We're all connected, and evil isn't a thing, it's just an absence of good. So what is this other way? Let's really dig into this idea of a world built on this just profound, radical sense of unity. The source material gets really poetic here, and I love this quote. Think about it this way. Every single thing you see, a person, a star, a tree, it's not a separate object. It's a horizon. It's a place where the meanings of that one single source can shine through, like an infinite number of suns, all rising at once. So here's the kicker. The separation is the illusion. Your uniqueness, my uniqueness, that's not denied at all. It's actually celebrated as one of the infinite ways that a single, underlying reality can express itself. The universe isn't a bunch of different things. It's one thing, appearing as everything. And the best analogy for this, by far, is the ocean and its waves. I mean, think about it. An ocean has billions of waves, right? And every single one looks different, moves differently. But is a wave ever actually separate from the ocean? No way. It's just the ocean taking on a temporary shape. This analogy says we're the waves, but our real nature is the whole ocean. Okay, this all sounds beautiful and poetic, but I know what you're probably thinking. It immediately brings up a huge question. If everything is this one good, unified reality, what about all the pain and suffering and just plain evil in the world? Yeah, this is the big one, isn't it? It's probably the biggest challenge to any philosophy of pure unity. If it's all one divine reality, how in the world do you explain the very real darkness that we all see and experience? Well, to get our heads around the answer, let's start with something really simple. What is darkness? I mean, really, it has no substance. It isn't a thing. It's just what happens when there's no light. You can't scoop up a bucket of darkness and pour it into a bright room. You can only take the light away. And that's exactly how this perspective sees things like evil or hatred or ignorance. They aren't these independent forces out there that we have to go battle. They are simply absences. Hatred is the absence of love. Ignorance is the absence of knowledge. So the job isn't to fight the shadow, it's to turn on the light. You see how this just flips everything on its head. It completely changes how we think about making the world a better place. It challenges that whole idea that we're stuck here in a broken world, just waiting around for something better to come along. There's this great parable from the poet Rumi that captures this perfectly. So a teacher has a student who sees double. He tells him, go get that jar off the shelf. The student looks and says, which one? The one on the left or the one on the right? The teacher keeps insisting there's only one jar. Finally, getting frustrated, he just says, "Fine, smash one and bring me the other." And of course, the student smashes the jar, and the other one disappears right along with it. The punchline? The problem was never the world, it was the student's own flawed vision. So, if the world isn't fundamentally broken, but maybe our perception of it is, what does that mean for us? What's our role? How do we actually deal with these absences of good that we see all around us? Let's use one last super practical analogy. Imagine you're making a huge pot of soup, and whoops, you dump way too much salt in. The whole thing is basically ruined. How do you fix it? Well, the wrong way, the impossible way, is to try and pick out every single grain of salt with a pair of tweezers. It's absurd. The right way is to transform the whole dish. You take that super salty soup and you pour it into an even bigger pot of fresh water and fresh ingredients. You don't take the salt out, you overwhelm it by adding more of the good stuff. And that, right there, is the huge takeaway. Our job isn't to spend our lives trying to hunt down and remove every bit of salt, every piece of injustice or hatred by fighting it head-on. Our job is to add more fresh water. We overwhelm the negative by pouring in more of the positive. More knowledge, more compassion, more beauty, more love. We transform the whole pot. So, that leaves us with one final question. And it's not about what you're going to fight against. It's about what you're going to contribute. What fresh water, what good, what light are you going to add to the pot today?